And I'm gonna try to do Charles Barkley. I'm not prepared, but I can try to go off the hit my head because I watched Charles Barkley play. And I'll start first on this one, but Charles Barkley in this era would be fine. I don't think he would still be a star. We see someone that's not exactly Barkley, but is a Barkley somewhat prototype in Zion Williamson. And Zion, when he's on, is at times unstoppable. And Charles Barkley was that. He was big and strong, and he was able to rebound over guys towering over him. And I have another tidbit I'll throw in here in a second, but Barkley, he wasn't the best shooter, but he could shoot the mid-range shot. He had a decent three-point shot, especially when he was at Phoenix. As he got older, his three-point shot got a little bit better, and he was able to shoot it at a decent clip. He didn't take a whole lot, like a lot of guys back then, but when he shot them, he was able to make them pretty well. And one of the big things he could do was, as a big man, he was a power forward. He could bring the ball down, and he could run the fast break, or he could run the point in a certain degree. He wasn't Magic Johnson, but he could actually run the point and be the point man and the floor general for a few and get the ball to the right guy. So in this day and age, that's all he needs to be able to do, is basically be able to run the floor. He's strong enough to get the rebounds in a day and age where guys aren't boxing out. So he would just have a field day there. He could hit the mid range. He could hit a three if necessary. He's not great. Wasn't a great defender, but in this day and age, I'm not going to talk about today's defense, but they're not the greatest defenders we've ever seen. So with the 5 out, I think he'd be okay. With zone defense, I think he'd be okay. And I think he would be fine in today's NBA. I think he could make All-Stars, just like Zion makes All-Stars. I can think he'd be close to maybe a 22, 25-point guy. I think he'd get at least 12 boards in this day and age. And before I let the next person go, I meant to hit on this earlier, but what's crazy is the NBA right now is the shortest it's been in 39 years. So the average height now is 6 foot 6.5 inches. And every position, the only position that's taller is the point guard position right now. Every other position is shorter. So with that said, a guy like Barkley, who wasn't a big guy, he was 6'6", basically like Zion, but he'd feast on it. So we'll let Sports and Fitness Rants go with Dominique Wilkins. And
let Big Nige go, man.
Oh, you want Big Nige? Okay.
Yeah, Big Nige, you go, man.
Okay.
And he got
he been patient. He been patiently waiting.
Okay. So he's got.
All right, I'm gonna start with this. Well, before I get into Olajuwon, I want to say one quick thing about Barkley. Though his game would translate very well, I'm more worried about the off the court antics. He's a great personality on TV, but if we're talking about today's age, we're talking about Adam Silver, the commissioner. There's no way Charles Barkley would be able to play today. Not because of his talent, but the off-the-court antics, getting into these altercations off the court, what he said on post-game interviews to these reporters, tell them to bleep off, all these different things. He says all kinds of colorful language. You get the picture. That's the only pushback I'll give you. Skill set-wise, for sure. Definitely a great power forward, would feast down low, get whatever shot he wants. It's just the off the court for me. Now to get back to Hakeem Olajuwon, the great Hakeem the Dream, and he's Hakeem the Dream, but in today's game, he'd be the nightmare. Like when we talk about his versatility, I mean, he could give it to you inside, outside. The best footwork I've ever seen with my 2 eyes. He had a nice mid-range game, elite ball handling for a 7-footer, solid passer, phenomenal rebounder. We get to the footwork. Like I said, the best footwork I've ever seen, and he's trained with the players in today's era. Like, we talk about LeBron, we saw his title run where he played against OKC, and he started, getting into the post more after that embarrassing loss in 2011. We saw him utilize the post moves he worked with the Dream with back in 2012. So we see that. We saw Dwight Howard, we saw the late, great Kobe Bryant Kevin Garnett. We even got to see Giannis as of more recently. He got to work with the Dream. Like these are today's players, again, drawing inspiration from the past. You don't see footwork like the Dreams no more. You don't see the creativity, the mindset, the preparation, all these little things, the little nuances of his game that are just glossed over and taken advantage of, by some people like, Gilbert Arenas. Shout out Gil's Arena. He's talking about travel this, travel that. Again, Gilbert was missing the bigger picture and just the little nuances of what those moves represented, what kind of counters can come out of those moves, just the basic fundamentals of footwork and how that can open you up. Because we saw, MJ, Kobe, we saw their footwork in the post and just how dominant that made them look well into their, well into their careers. So we got to give him his respect there. And then, of course, the most important thing is his defense, right? Mm-hmm. He did the greatest job defensively I've ever seen on Shaquille O'Neal. I mean, we talk about how dominant Shaq was in his heyday. Hakeem Olajuwon did the best job of anybody I've ever seen, right? So if you put him in the modern era, you would say maybe his toughest matchup would be Jokic or Joel Embiid, but I would say no. He would absolutely. I'm not going to say he shut them down to like 0 points because I'm sure they would score, but it would be a nightmare to even get past him, let alone get a shot above him. And so, we saw him guard great centers, better centers, Ewing, David Robinson, Shaq, likes of those nature. There's not very many great bigs today, so he would destroy 99.9% of all bigs in today's league. He would most definitely be the best center in today's game. You want to throw Jokic in there and say all this? I'm taking the Dream. I love Jokic's game, but the combination of offense and defense, he'd be the best big in today's game, and it wouldn't be a question.
Even without the 3-ball?
I mean, if you put him in today's game, I mean, he could obviously, as we've seen him, he can get the 3-ball game, and he wouldn't even need it. That's how great he is. You can't stop him.
I agree with everything you said. So we and before we keep going, our third cousin on my mom's side is Dominique Wilkins. So I just wanted to throw that in. And for that, my man Sports and Fitness Rants is going to let us know if Dominique could do his thing.
Man, y'all should have waited till after I went and then said something, man. I'm about to go down on my man Dominique Wilkins. Listen, man, I was gonna wear my Dominique Wilkins sweater from Roots of Fight. All right. So much respect to Dominique Wilkins, but go ahead, continue.
Oh no, you got the floor.
Oh, all right, yeah. Listen, my goodness, man. Listen, let me just first say about Charles Barkley, though, man. When you talk about some of the guys that I remember growing up watching, man, my favorite players, obviously Michael Jordan is my favorite player watching growing up. You know what I'm saying? And it was right after him, it was Magic Johnson and Charles Barkley, man, like neck and neck, man. Those are my favorite players, man, as a kid, man. And then right behind them was Dennis Rodman, man, believe it or not, man. But I love Dennis Rodman too, man. I thought he was crazy out there, man. But when you talk about, Charles Barkley's overall game, man, outstanding, man. And you talk about Hakeem Olajuwon, man. You guys talking about some legends, man. Yo, and you rhyme the money with Hakeem Olajuwon, man. This dude would easily, hands down, be the best center in the league, man. Because when we talk about the 3-ball and him not being able to shoot the 3-ball, what Jokic is doing, even though he can shoot the 3-ball, you can run your offense through Hakeem in the high post, man. You can literally do these things. So you don't have to worry about necessarily having Hakeem have to stand outside the 3-point line. This man could pick you apart. Like you said, the footwork, outstanding. But let's get back to Dominique Wilkins, man. And we talking about someone who could play in today's game. Let's just first start off with something that people don't know about Dominique Wilkins. The man could rebound the basketball. Okay, let's understand something. When you see a lot of these highlights of Dominique Wilkins, man, and you see this man putting back these dunks, those happen to be called offensive rebounds, okay? A lot of people forget about these kinds of things, man. Dominique Wilkins, with that second jump ability, man, could get up on there and get those offensive rebounds. A very good rebounder at that small forward position, man. So much respect to Dominique Wilkins. So with all these rebounds flying around in today's game and all these shots being tucked up, you tell me Dominique Wilkins can get these rebounds and get out on the break and start doing some damage out here, man? He absolutely could, man. The overall offensive game of Dominique Wilkins, man, like I said, man, he had the off-the-glass game, man. He had the overall mid-range game, man. See, the mid-range game today is lost. So when we talk about guys as shooting the basketball today, a lot of guys immediately think of the three-point shot, and they'll be, oh, these guys can't shoot shoot the ball because they're thinking they didn't shoot the three. But those guys could shoot the basketball, and they can shoot it in a myriad of different ways, in a myriad of different angles. Look at some of Dominique Wilkins' shots in his career, man. He's shooting these things in weird angles, man. Pump faking it off the glide, off the angle, man. You've seen these things. When you think about a guy like Dominique Wilkins playing in today's game, and we talked earlier about talent, we talked about athleticism, or who's more athletic or more talented than a Dominique Wilkins in today's game, he'd be up there with the most talented athletic guys. He'd be up there with an Anthony Edwards as far as talent and athleticism goes. The man could jump off 2 feet like no one else, man, with the windmill dunks and all the 360s and the up and unders and all those things, man. Him and Michael Jordan to go back and forth. Dominique Wilkins would have about 5 or 6 scoring titles if it wasn't for someone named Michael Jordan. He
Yeah,
finished
true.
runner-up to Michael Jordan, I believe, 4 separate occasions in his career. So when you talk about the scoring ability of Dominique Wilkins, his name doesn't get brought up many times. But this guy can score the basketball, man. And it's not me just saying this because I grew up watching the man. It's because it's what you look at on the video footage and the numbers say so. Like I said, the man would literally have about 5 scoring titles if it wasn't for some guy named Michael Jordan, who happens to be the greatest scorer in the history of the game.